And we're singing. We're singing. Dun, 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 dun. Time to talk. Beauty and the Bitch.
Moggy.
Oh, hi, baby.
Hi, sweet baby.
Hi.
How are you?
Oh, I'm so good. It's so good to see you today.
It's good to see you. You know, I've missed you, so I was just thinking. Last night, I was trying to fall asleep, and I thought to myself, Morgan is the Eustace of my life. Now, you don't know what that means. So you haven't read Voyage of the Dawn Treader, but I promise you, it's a compliment.
I did read Voyage of the Dawn Treader, and why the fuck would you say that to someone?
Oh.
Why would you even, impart upon me that I'm a Eustace in your fucking life?
Well, I just meant,
Did I turn into a dragon? Did I ruin you?
Not yet. Okay, I just didn't. I'm sorry. This is really embarrassing. Should we end the podcast?
Podcast over.
Oh, no!
Bye, babies!
Actually, though, you don't even have to read the book to know that that's an insult, because the very first line of Voyage of the Dawn Treader is, there was a boy called Eustace... Fuck, I can't even read. Why'd you get me so drunk, Morgan?
It was the rosé situation.
It was the rosé, and you know what? It was worth it.
It was.
I'm not mad.
No regrets.
There was a boy called Eustace Clarence Scrub, and he almost deserved it. Almost. What a beautiful line. I know, it's a really good opening line.
Yeah.
Right? I was just kidding. You're not the Eustace.
Obviously.
You're more like the White Witch Jadis type of my life.
I'm not mad because you love that bitch.
Fierce as hell!
You
I love that bitch!
Stop,
What's
stop,
that
stop.
White Witch?
You're my girl!
I'm definitely, if we're going to be characters from Prince Caspian, which we did last week, I'm definitely Nickabrick. He wants that White Witch to come back. He said, look, she might not be Aslan's friend, but there were no men telling me what to do when the White Witch was in charge.
Oh, that's fair. Can I still be basic and just be Lucy?
You can totally be Lucy.
Because she's like, where's Aslan? He loves me.
I saw Aslan again.
And fucking, what's his name? Peter's like, bitch, you was crazy.
Right. Lucy's like, Aslan told me not to get the measles shot.
Oh my god. I'm going to use that as any excuse forever. My boss is like, why didn't you do a good job? And I'm like, Aslan came to me and he was like, girl, you get paid the same no matter how much work you do.
And I said, woo, praise Aslan.
I said, praise be.
He is risen.
My little lion man.
Well, Morgie, you know, this is my favorite Chronicles of Narnia book. By
Solid
far.
decision.
I fucking love this book.
Solid choice.
Where does this book fall in your sort of
So it's been so long since I've reread them.
Or read anything.
And yeah, I'm really stupid.
No, you're not. You read all the time. I was just kidding.
Yeah, I'm really well read.
You are.
Smart.
Yeah.
I'm smart on YA novels.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? You pick a topic and that's all you can do in this world.
Girl, I could also tell you about Outlander, which is basically 50 books. I didn't get a chance to reread the series for podcast talks, but I've been rereading synopses and rereading the Dawn Treader was the whole time I was like, oh yeah, fuck yeah, and then they went and did this thing and then they went and did that. So I think that it's probably one of the more rereadable ones.
Heck yeah.
And it's got elements that really stick out as being really indicative of Chronicles of Narnia. I think outside of Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, the image of the Dawn Treader is one of the more prominent things of the series.
Absolutely, and it's on the cover,
and it's a good looking fucker.
Hey, it looks good. It's a small little ship.
I'd get on that boat.
I'm on it right now.
Well,
I'm on drugs.
That's weird, and we should talk about that.
Yeah. Well, okay, so Morgie, I think normally we don't do it this way, but I'm going to volunteer to do a 1-minute recap.
Oh, I would love this.
Do you think? I don't know. I did just finish it recently, so I should be able to remember, but we'll find out.
I think you can do it. 1 minute?
1 minute. I'm not going to cheat. I'm not going to look at the chapters.
Okay.
I'm probably going to get something confused because a lot happens very quickly.
I will do my best to help you in any way that I can. I'm ready. You ready?
Tell me when to go.
Go.
Okay, so Edmund and Lucy are staying with Eustace, who is their cousin. Peter and Susan are in America. They're not in this book, and they're not in any other Narnia book until the last battle. It's sad, but whatever. Okay, so they're all looking at a picture. They get pulled into an ocean view. All of a sudden, they're in Narnia, and Prince Caspian, a few years later, is leader of the ship. And he's telling them that he wants to sail out and find the lords that his uncle, Miraz, exiled. There's 7 of them, okay? So they're on this trip. They go out to this place. First, they all become slaves, okay? But then Caspian gets bought so he can free the others, and then he overcomes the guy who's in charge of that island. Whatever, it doesn't matter. He finds one lord there. And then they go on. They find this island where, I might be out of order, where Eustace turns into a dragon. Eustace is horrible at first. Horrible trash. He's a Republican. And seriously, it says that in there. And he turns into a dragon, and then he helps them out. He becomes a nice guy. They find another ring. How much time do I have?
5 seconds.
Oh my God. And then they go on some other islands, and then in the end they meet a star, and then Reepicheep dies.
Oh, yeah. Well, you nailed it.
Yep, there it is.
That was basically it. They go island hopping.
They do.
Like they're fucking hanging out at the Greek islands. Fucking Eustace does too many drugs and turns into a dragon.
He's a dragon, girl.
Yeah.
I love that scene though when what happens is he sees this dragon. He stumbles upon this dragon that is dying. I remember distinctly this book taught me the word precipice. I remember I went to my mom and I was like, what the fuck does this word mean? More or less. I actually said that. Well, because it's a big part because he stumbles into this canyon with the dragon. He watches the dragon die and then it starts raining. So he goes into the cave to take a nap because he's lazy.
Like you do.
Yeah, you know.
Also, he was in the cave. Like he was even there because he was avoiding like helping fix the broken ship.
Exactly. Yeah. He doesn't want to work at all because he's the worst. He's the worst at first. But then he turns into a dragon and like life's real hard. And that makes him sweet. And then what are the other islands they do? Do you remember? There's the Deathwater Island is the island where there's like a little pond that turns things to gold. They find another lord there. He dived in, so he's a gold statue at the bottom.
Is that the Duffers Island?
No, that's after Deathwater. They go to the Duffers, the invisible one-legged Duffers, and the magician. I love the magician. Yes. And then they go on to Ramadu's Island, which is where next is Ramadu's Island. They find 3 more lords there, the final 3.
Oh, because they're like sleeping?
Yeah, they're like asleep at the table. Like a sleeping death kind of. Yeah. And it's because they were like fighting or something? I don't remember. But then Ramadu comes in and he's a fallen star. And his daughter, who's like also like star-like, she lives there. And she becomes Caspian's wife.
Makes sense.
Yeah. And she, when we get to the silver chair, which I think is next week, she's the mother of Caspian's son, Prince Rilian, who's the prince of the silver chair, which is crazy. Like, I didn't put that together as a child.
Oh, dang.
Somehow, yeah.
Also, you have your copy here. It's a really little book. The words are
quite
pretty
small.
Large. 216 pages, but like kids book pages.
Oh, yeah.
And all of that plot that you just said is a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot of things to happen in between these covers.
I think, you know what I think is that Prince Caspian and The Voyage of the Dawn Treader are almost exact opposite books. Because Voyage of the Dawn Treader is nothing but plot, but there's not really... I mean, yeah, they're searching for the lords. That's the connecting narrative, but it's almost more like a collection of short stories, really, to be honest with you. I mean, they happen one after the other chronologically, but there's not like a big narrative. I don't know. It just, whereas Prince Caspian, remember when we talked about that, not enough happens.
Yeah.
There's a really strong like battle narrative that's happening, but beyond that, you're like, girl, this is boring, you know? Voyage of the Dawn Treader is never boring, but it also doesn't really connect.
Doesn't have that heart.
The others. Yeah, that narrative heart. I don't know more. Did you see the movie?
I saw it when it came out.
Ages ago, yeah.
It was like, we went on Christmas to see it. And I remember being like, that was as good as I should have expected it to be. Yeah.
I think the first, because there are only 3, right, of the first movies. This was the last one.
Yeah, they're not doing any more from what I understand. Except for, like short, weren't they talking about... Aren't they making a mini-series of Chronicles of Narnia? Didn't we talk about this? It's like a thing I can't remember if I made up because I want it to be true or if it's happening. Let me Google it.
You do smoke a lot of methamphetamine, so...
Yeah, but not lately.
Yeah, well... Not consciously.
That's true.
I like you on meth, so I keep slipping it into your food.
Thank
Does it work that way? I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
I don't think I can slip meth to you. Well, I'll tell you what. I rewatched the movie as well. $3.99 on Amazon Prime.
What?
Definitely not worth it. I mean, it's not a good movie. But I loved it because I love the book. I tell you what, though. I hate this boy that plays Eustace. I don't like him at all. Forgive me, young man. He's probably like 15 or 16 now. I don't think acting is for you. I think you should become, anything else. A doctor, a lawyer, a fucking, I don't know, spy. I don't care what you become, but don't be an actor because you weren't good in this movie.
Oh, R.I.P. his career.
Oh, I thought you were going to tell me he was dead.
Oh, no.
Oh, Jesus. I was like, oh my God.
Oh, no, I don't know who he is, but Netflix did buy the rights to Chronicles of Narnia, and they are doing something.
Well, that's really exciting.
Yeah.
I wish they would do something with the latter 4 books because everyone wants to talk about the Pevensey kids. What about Eustace and Jill? Hello, goodbye.
Mm-hmm.
The silver chair? Hello, goodbye. What about that ape and that unicorn? Hello, last battle.
So they were supposed to apparently...
What about the horse's boy?
Disney was supposed to start filming the silver chair, but then the deal is being overwritten because Netflix has this new deal, and so they're not going to be doing it under the same umbrella. Huh.
I just hope they don't start from the beginning. This is like that conversation we had about Spider-Man, right? Where for a while it was like Spider-Man's origin story every fucking movie.
That's true.
And it's like at a certain point we don't need the origin anymore. Like give us the latter bits of the story,
Maybe they will find a creative way to not do that.
They can just pick it up from the silver chair.
They could.
There's no need to cover the Pevensey shit. It becomes lesson. Literally hundreds of years have passed in Narnia. Like it's old news.
Yeah.
So
also the time between Prince Caspian and the Voyage of the Dawn Treader was so
short. Yeah. Couple of years.
Yeah, but like between Chronicles or between Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
Yeah.
Like the timeline doesn't make sense.
The time between the two worlds is something that, like, at one point, I think it's in Prince Caspian, Lewis is like, time just works differently. So you can go to one world, it might be 2 seconds in the other world, or it might be 200 years, and you'll never know. Which
and
I'm like, that's lazy. Girl,
that's how Fillory is too, though, right?
Sure.
With
yeah.
And Lev Grossman borrowed that sort of ideology for the magicians, and I guess it, as a writer, lends a certain crutch that like. Maybe if you get stuck in storytelling, you could just be like, you know what, fuck it, let's jump 200 years and everyone's dead and it's new people.
Which, I mean, smart, you get a whole new story then. And all of his stories are about, religion, right? So like Prince Caspian, supposedly, depending on, they are, but you don't have to read them that way. But like Prince Caspian's about like, the triumph of the true religion. And like this, supposedly the Chronicles or the Voyage of the Dawn Treader is more about like the journey of the soul, especially like Reepicheep's journey and how he kind of dies at the end. Pretty much dies.
They send him away. We'll never see you again.
He goes to Aslan's country, which if that's like heaven, I mean, motherfucker's dead. But we were talking earlier about Eustace turning into a dragon.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if you remember, but in the movie, Aslan just kind of turns him back into a boy. It's like do you remember they get into that fight with the sea dragon? And you probably don't remember because that movie's such a pile of shit. But he gets first the sea dragon like bites him and shit.
Tight.
And like Eustace as a dragon's like fighting the sea dragon, which is pretty cool. I do like dragon versus sea dragon battle. Like that's something you don't see every day.
Sure.
And then one of the crazy lords who is like completely driven loony takes his sword and he throws it. Very impressive throw. This is a skinny ass like man living on a deserted island in darkness for decades. I don't know how he throws the sword, but he throws it and it hits Eustace right in the shoulder, his little dragon shoulder. And then he flies off. Aslan finds him, turns him back into a boy. Okay, that's how it happens in the movie. In the book, they never leave the island, Dragon Island, because they can't. Because they're like, what the fuck do we do with Eustace?
He's a dragon.
He can't fit on the boat. How do we feed him? He's hungry. He wants some goats, So they never even leave. And Aslan turns him back in a dream, kind of. But this is my favorite part of this entire book, and they cut this shit all together.
Let's hear it.
Forgive me, it's a little bit long, okay? But it's not mega long. Okay, so he's with Aslan. There's like a big bath. Aslan's telling me to step into the bath. I was just going to say that I couldn't undress because I hadn't any clothes on when I suddenly thought that dragons are snaky sorts of things and snakes can cast their skins. Oh, of course, thought I. That's what the lion means. So I started scratching myself, and my scales began coming off all over the place. And then I scratched a little deeper, and instead of just scales coming off here and there, my whole skin started peeling off beautifully, like it does after an illness. Sidebar, what illness?
Leprosy?
Yeah, I don't know. I was like, girl, what illness did you have, Eustace?
Beautifully.
Yeah. Or as if I was a banana. In a minute or two, I just stepped out of it. I could see it lying there beside me, looking rather nasty. It was a most lovely feeling. So I started to go down to my bath. And then he realized he still had skin on, so he does it again, and he does it again. So he's pulling off his skin over and over. But underneath, he's always still ugly, still a dragon. Then the lion said, but I don't know... Oh, but then the lion said, but then I don't know if it spoke. He's talking to Edmund here. You will have to let me undress you. I was pretty afraid of his claws, I can tell you, but I was pretty nearly desperate now, so I just lay flat down on my back to let him do it. The very first tear he made was so deep that I thought it had gone right into my heart. And when he began pulling the skin off, it hurt worse than anything I've ever felt. The only thing that made me able to bear it was just the pleasure of feeling the stuff peel off. You know, if you've ever picked off a scab. I know exactly what you mean, said Edmund. Well, he peeled the beastly stuff right off, just as I thought I'd done it myself the other 3 times, only they hadn't hurt. And there it was lying on the grass, only ever so much thicker and darker and more knobbly looking than the others had been. And there was I, as smooth and soft as a peeled switch, and smaller than I had been. And then he took hold of me, threw me into the water, blah, blah, blah. He became a boy. So here's why I think that's important. And even as I read this when I couldn't have been older than 10. I was very young. That bit right there taught me that change is painful and transformation hurts. And I think that's a really important lesson to teach children. Or it's just like, Eustace was turned into a dragon, partially because he slept on a dragon horde, but also because he had, that does happen. You sleep on a dragon horde, grew God, turn into a dragon. Everybody knows that. But he also, though, had been a fucking prick.
Yeah.
And, narratively, he was punished for being a fucking prick to everybody, right? But, just because you're sorry doesn't mean you get to go from being a monster to being a boy again, right? Yep. You have to go through that painful transformation. You have to be punished in some way. You have to be redeemed in some way. And it isn't like in the movies where Aslan twitches his lion nose and suddenly you're a boy. Nah, girl, you have to peel that shit off. And every second of it hurts. But then at the end, it's over and it's lovely. And you're a brand new, wonderful person. And I wish to me, that is one of the hearts of this book. And they cut it out, no problem. Which is one of the reasons I was so pissed at the movie.
And we were talking about this earlier, and that's the problem with, movies and things that have, special source materials. Because we were talking about how the process of, in America, the way that a lot of films and TV shows get made, you have a writer, and the writer finishes a thing and hands that thing off to the director, and the director makes a thing, and then the director hands it off to the editors, and then the editors, they have the power to decide what is the narrative. They have a script that they can loosely follow, but ultimately it's their decision what happens in the cutting room floor. And if they think a scene like that doesn't convey what they think is the most important thing, it's getting cut, which is wild because what a fucking process. And then we go on and we award all these fucking awards, and the ones that matter most are and the award goes to the director or to the actor, but it essentially isn't up to them. They better hope they hired a really good editor. And
the producers and all. I totally agree with you. Making movies by committee like that, it's I disagree. I think one person needs to be in charge, and it should be their vision.
And sometimes it is that way.
Yeah, Peter Jackson, know. I mean, he had a bunch of people with him, but you all knew.
He was in the editing
Peter
room.
Jackson and Fran Walsh, I guess, the quiet silent partner.
Yeah.
But Yeah, but when I was in undergrad, I wrote part of my undergraduate thesis on Anton and Artaud, and that was one of his big things. Is like the director is God, and you do what the director wants, not because they're better than you, but because this is their production, and you want to make their vision come to reality. Which I just feel like that's not why we make movies these days. Well, some there are exceptions, but generally, it's a commercial choice. Yeah. It's a, they fucking polled 3,000 people and they choose whichever idea that most people like, or that's not.
Or
art.
Even for like episodic things, they can have a different director for every single episode.
Yes, which is crazy.
Yeah. Like something like, to me, a thing that comes to mind is like a show like Mad Men or something, where it's this very like character heavy, intensive like story arc over the many seasons. Like, right, like the whole point of the fucking thing is like, how do these characters change and evolve together? And like every single episode, a new director steps in and is like, this is what I think your character is doing. And like, they weren't there for the like last 2 seasons necessarily. Right. I'm sure they have some repeat directors, but still, that's fucking crazy.
Yeah. I just don't like that at all. But nobody asked me.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, actually, Mark Silverstein. I can't think of a famous director.
Oh my god,
that's so embarrassing. I assume my brain. I assume my brain could do it.
Steven Spielberg. What about that one?
I think that's who I was thinking of. Instead of Steven Spielberg, though, I said Mark Silverstein, who's his useless cousin who's Jewish and a lawyer.
Couldn't help but notice you didn't think of a woman director. I mean, it's whatever.
I couldn't even think of one male director. I couldn't think of nobody.
Catherine Bigelow?
Yeah, I've seen Hurt Locker.
Sofia Coppola?
Yeah, I've seen... I just watched
Translation.
No, well, I haven't seen that, actually. What was her first one? Remember I just saw... No, I just saw one of her movies, and I was like, it's a Sofia Coppola. List. It's a Sofia Coppola movie. It's famous. Virgin Suicides.
Yeah, and I never got to see that one.
That's amazing.
Because it sounded sad.
It is heart-wrenching.
Yeah.
But
and I'm just like rarely in the mood for that. They have to catch me off guard. Heart-wrenching movies have to be like, ooh, unsuspecting, nice little film, and then I'm dead inside.
Yeah.
Like if I have to be prepared before I go in, it's almost never gonna happen.
Yeah. What do you mean you're not gonna cry, or you're just not gonna go see it?
I'm just not gonna see it.
I feel that.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen that movie Stepmom?
Yeah.
Oh, I was gonna say you should go see it. It's really funny.
No.
I made my mom go see that. She was mad.
Sad.
I know, but I love Susan Sarandon, and I love
Julia
Roberts.
Yeah.
Is that Julia Roberts?
Wasn't she the stepmom?
I don't know.
Yeah, she was like, I'm the young, pretty stepmom. And Susan was like, take care of my children. I'm dead.
Yeah. My mom was not happy.
It's sad.
I was like, girl, we're going to watch these divas act. Okay, here's why I hate Eustace, though.
At the age of like 8.
Yeah, right. I was only like 14, but you know what? I've always loved a diva, and there's nothing wrong with that. I love Eustace in the books. He becomes one of my favorite characters. Edmund and Eustace are my favorites because I like a redemptive arc. I wish in the movies they had made him brown. Or anything but white, essentially. There's no need for him to be white. He's a cousin. So you can bring in a whole nother ethnicity in that other side of the family.
It's problematic.
It is well, look, the Pevensey kids, they don't have to be white. I mean, they just don't have to be. If the Umbrella Academy can be diverse, so can these kids be, you know?
The Wrinkle in Time family.
Exactly. They could at least be biracial, no harm, no foul. There are tons of brown-skinned English people.
Plenty.
Plenty. But they chose to make them lily white. And that, to an extent, I'm like, okay, they've always been white. They're they're white characters. They have white personalities, if that's...
but it really tracks, though, because Jesus was white. And since this is a very religious situation, we should be true to the Bible.
Okay, well, in that,
white men fare well in the desert.
That's true.
Yes,
they're
back
most
in
at
the
home.
day.
Yeah, well, they were all lily white. All the Bible stories about lily white people.
Obviously, yeah.
Except the Egyptians.
Well, because they were bad.
Obviously, we believe none of that trash. But I'm just saying, Eustace definitely should have been brown. That would have been... And the problem...
I agree with that.
This whole movie... Prince Caspian didn't do well, and you can tell they really phoned in.
Oh, girl.
Voyage of the Dawn
Yeah,
Treader.
I feel like I remember it was like, everyone was like, why are we here? We're being paid. Little Lucy was like, I'm a child. My parents made me do this.
Look, it's Aslan.
He's right. Why do we make her, like, drunk and, like, mentally retarded?
Well, because
why?
she always has those lips, because she always had holes in her teeth, so that really what that is me trying to do in this.
Aslan.
Aslan.
My cousin Eustace, she's a dragon.
You can't say people are dragons, Morgan.
Oh, no.
Morgan Lucy.
Oh, no. I'm
Okay.
learning new things.
So they dropped the ball with that. In general, the movie's horrible. You know what I do love, though?
Dragons.
Is the magician. I do love dragons. That's true. And I love the mother of dragons. That's my nickname.
Okay.
Yep.
Well.
No other mother of dragons but me.
Oh, we are getting so close to the Game of Thrones air date. It's been. I have rewatched nothing.
Oh. You need to get on it, bitch.
I know.
I rewatched the first 3 or 4 seasons.
Damn, girl. It's only like 5 or 6. You're like halfway there.
Yeah, and I rewatched the season I hadn't seen. Like where...
Oh, yeah.
Where What's-Her-Face... She gets into a fight with the Hound, Brienne of Tarth.
Oh,
and then Arya leaves him for dead. Yeah, I hadn't seen all of that because that was the season I skipped. But anyway, back to Voyage of the Dawn Treader. I adore the Duffers, who are the invisible guys, and the magician, who is actually, I believe he's a fallen star. And they cut out my favorite part of that, too.
Girl, that's what they do. They're like, tell me what you love, it's dead.
To be fair, though, that was a good little song. That needs to go on the, what were we talking about earlier where you make the noises?
What is that called? Like a soundboard.
Like a soundboard. That could be on your soundboard. Yeah. So you know that Lucy is the one that goes in the magician's house. Okay, the Island of the Duffers, they're the invisible things. And the whole, Edmund and Eustace, he's a boy again, and Caspian, they're like, oh my God, what's happening? And for some reason, Lucy gets sent in.
She's
forget
like,
why.
I'll go look upon it.
She said, what? Maybe Aslan's in that house, Dad?
I know, invisible people. Also, she's like 93
I know.
years old.
We made her 93. Very slow. Definitely drooling on herself is what's happening.
So basically a small British child.
Yeah, well. Okay, now, I will tell you, they are forgiven for not including this. This is a tiny detail that means something to me and probably to no one else.
Okay.
This is the last thing I'm reading, and it's only a paragraph, okay? She's in the magician's house. She ain't seen no magician. It's very scary and magical.
Been there.
And all these motherfuckers outside are invisible. And they say they're going to kill everybody.
Keell?
Keall.
Ooh,
Kale.
Them's bad.
Them's bad. They're going to kill everybody if she doesn't convince the magician to... I forget if they say turn them visible or undo the curse or, whatever. Turn them visible, essentially. She's walking through. After about the 6th door, she got her first real fright. For 1 second, she felt almost certain that a wicked little bearded face had popped out of the wall and made a grimace at her. She forced herself to stop and look at it. And it was just Morgan. No, that's not.
My God!
That's not in there. I really do like this part. It wasn't all just a wind-up. I really do like it. I just thought it'd be fun to make fun of you. Okay. And it was not a face at all. It was a little mirror just the size and shape of her own face, with hair on the top of it and a beard hanging down from it, so that when you looked in the mirror, your own face fitted into the hair and beard, and it looked as if they belonged to you. I just caught my own reflection with the tail of my eye as I went past, said Lucy to herself. That's all it was. It's quite harmless. But she didn't like the look of her own face with that hair and beard, and she went on. I don't know what the bearded glass was for, because I am not a magician. I don't know why that touched me as a child. I don't know. I like reading, like the Aslan thing, I'm like, that actually taught me a lesson. This, no lesson.
Just a detail that you enjoyed.
It is the most memorable detail of the entire book to me. I don't know why. Something about...
Fascinating.
Seeing yourself in other people, or seeing your face in other people, or seeing other people's... There's something there,
so
but I don't know why.
These mirrors, those are things that people do. They'll make mirrors with like funny hair.
Yeah. And if I ever find a mirror, I want like a carved wooden mirror with like hair on top and a beard on it. You better believe I will spend any amount of money for that. Honestly, I've always wanted one. I've never seen one though.
Interesting.
The bearded glass.
Somebody's birthday's coming up in 2020.
Oh, wait, but you didn't get me a birthday gift this last year.
No, I'm sure I did.
No, you didn't.
I'm
Name it.
sure
What'd you get me?
I got you the gift of friendship.
The gift. So it was past date, spoiled, rotten, clumpy,
It wasn't
mumpy,
rotten, but it
dumpy.
was past date. And what you call me?
Clumpy, mumpy, and dumpy. I only need 4 more dwarves. I'll have the full collection.
You know I'm having triplets, and you told me you wouldn't tell no one their names.
Clumpy, mumpy, and dumpy. Oh my god. Which kid's the most unattractive? I can't tell.
You'll never know.
Probably clumpy.
They're identical.
Well, mumpy. Oh, but then there's dumpy. I don't know.
It's really a lose-lose. It's really a lose-lose.
So here's the thing. I could talk about the Voyage of the Dawn Treader forever because I'm an uber fan. So I'm going to try. You know who I am when it comes especially to this book. C.S. Lewis in general, but I am very Quentin from The Magicians. Mm-hmm. I am that character. Mm-hmm. I could talk about it all day.
The source material.
Yes, and I literally have in here the 1,000 different things they did differently. For example, Lucy does not tear a page out of the Magician's book in the book. Oh my god, I'm offended. But that is offensive. She tears a page out of his beautiful, like...
Yeah, who would do that? No, yeah, I don't remember that.
Lucy
awful.
Would never do that. Even, like, under an evil... There's, like, an evil spell that gets them all in the movie.
Hard no.
She would never.
Is there anything else that stood out to you? Well, big differences that you did want to discuss? One
really big difference is there's, like, a green mist in the movie. Do you remember that aspect?
I do, yeah.
They for example, at the very first island where they get abducted by the slavers and almost get sold into slavery, at one point the mayor is sacrificing people to this green mist. And then the green mist takes on the form of both your fears and also things that might seduce you, kind of samesies. And for Edmund, it's fucking the White Witch. So it's another cameo in this damn movie.
Yep.
And that made a lot of people think that the green mist was her or was a witch, but I think that's not, even in the movie, that's not the way it is. It's just that's what the mist looks like because he's afraid of her. Right. Because she seduced him with Turkish delight. Like
what's that thing from Harry Potter? A boggart that takes on the form of what you fear most.
Very much that, yes. And in the book, it does exist, but it's not so widespread. It's one island, I think it's called Dark Island. Mm-hmm. They find one of the lords there who had been abandoned there, the guy who I was telling you throw the sword at Eustace. Uh-huh. And how his skinny ass throws that sword, I'll never know. It's called the Dark Island. And it's just an island of nightmares. And they fucking just leave it. I mean, Aslan becomes an albatross.
Same, nah, we're good.
Yeah,
we don't need to
I'm okay, thanks. Though they did say in this book that not only do your nightmares become real, but your dreams become real as well.
Ooh, so that's a gamble.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of like the island of the Lotus Eaters from the Odyssey, which it's the exact same idea, except it's the exact same idea, just slightly more fantastical, really. Mm-hmm. In fact, this whole book is the Odyssey, essentially. I mean, it's he's not going home, he's going out to explore, but it's like an exploration tale. I don't know.
Totally. And we talk about the Magicians a lot because we're fans of that. Yes. And we've said before that Lev Grossman really drew on not only the iconography, but there's a lot of inspiration from the Dawn Treader in the Magician's Land.
Uh-huh. The Muntjac.
Yes, the Muntjac was the ship that they went out on, and they go on their own adventure, and there are a lot of parallels and
very
talking animals. Yes, of course. Yeah, very consciously. Yeah.
You know what else they cut out of the movie?
Tell me.
Way years before old J.K. Rowling put warlike, scary merpeople in her fantasy world.
Like you do.
Mm-hmm. You better believe C.S. Lewis put warlike, scary merpeople in his fantasy world.
They on a boat? They might as well.
At one point, they're near the end, near Aslan's land, and old Lucy's looking out over the edge, and she says, "Oh, it looks so pretty down there at the bottom of that sea." And then she says, "What the fuck is that?"
Appropriate.
And it's a hunting party, an underwater hunting party. And the king of the merpeople, he shakes his fist at her, and she says, "Ooh, he does not look nice." But then they just go on. Nothing else happened. But I was like, why not show that? It was such a cheap... It was just such... It was cheap. It was a cheap adaptation of my favorite book.
I'm so sorry.
One of my favorite books.
That's such a disappointment too. And to spend $3.99 to rewatch it.
Yeah. I did have a $1 coupon because I chose no rush shipping. But still.
Right, but still.
Yeah, it was still upsetting.
Yeah, it's still upsetting. Yeah.
I do not recommend it to anyone, but I'm extremely excited about this Netflix.
Yeah, we'll see what happens because you never know, right? Like there was so much buzz around the Amazon Prime Lord of the Rings thing, and we're only... I mean, it's been talking about for a long fucking time. We're only just now even finding out, like, what era are we
We did find that out, though. Yeah. So we are looking at, correct me if I'm wrong, we're looking at right before the War of the Rings? Or no, Aragorn's childhood. I'm confused.
I think even earlier than that, like, it's going to be centered, I think, the Numenor or, like, the main, like, story arc. And I don't know.
So, like, prehistory.
Yeah. So I'm not sure. I'm sure... Man, it'd be dope as hell if they could get Cate Blanchett to reprise her role.
Oh my god!
I don't know what they're gonna do though. Like they're telling us like
and
bits
Elrond
and
too. What's his name? Elrond.
Hugo Weaving.
I hope they don't get other people to play. I hope if they can't get those people, they just don't have.
Sure.
I hope they're not in.
They're just absent from that story
because I don't want those roles belong to them. To me. Especially those two roles. Some other roles I can see being recast, but they're amazing.
Yeah. So that'll be fascinating, and I can't wait to see what Netflix does because they do have so many options. They could go so many ways between like movies and like short narrative things, or starting over, like you said, like just skipping the 3 and just going straight into maybe Silverchair.
I think that show us like if they did more of like an anthology series, I think that would be smart because then they could tell these stories. They could do like a 2 or 3 part Horse and His Boy.
Oh, that'd be so cool.
That'd be amazing. A 2 or 3 part Silverchair. If they have the full rights, they might be able to tell stories we haven't seen before.
I think I prefer that telling of like stories, like novels that have been adapted, because like we've seen it done as like movies, and we've seen it done as like The Handmaid's Tales as like series, like, you know, seasons of shows. But I think, and they're coming back with the second one of all new information they invented, but I think the way that HBO did Big Little Lies, even though they changed a ton of information from they like took it from Australia and were like, it's in California, whatever, they changed a lot of stuff, but like the cadence of it was like the perfect amount of information. Like I feel like that's the best way to do novelizations, and the BBC does that so well. The BBC has long been following that format, right? Like Pride and Prejudice was really famous, like BBC masterpiece presentation of that, and like it's a good formula. It works.
I totally agree, 100%. Well, and that's why we're in a golden age of TV, right? Well, I mean that's not why, but that's connected to the whole idea. You can just do stuff with TV and miniseries and just not full feature-length movies. There's so much more you can do. Because that's the thing, is we think of a movie as being longer than a TV show, but of course it's not. Of course it's significantly shorter, right? Yeah. You just don't watch it all at once.
Right.
Of course, now we binge, but still.
Yeah.
I'm with you. I think I want everything to be made into a TV series. In fact, I'm kind of over movies. Unless they're made as movies, don't make it. Make it a miniseries. Make it a TV show.
I think that's a good point.
Yeah. I wish someone would listen to me.
Oh, that's a problem with our world.
Nobody
wants
listens
to hear
me.
us. We are smart.
Or me specifically.
Okay. I see what you're doing there. I see.
It's so cruel and mean. So the green mist in the Voyage of the Dawn Treader, that doesn't exist. So I was annoyed that they put that in. And last but not least, it's Ed and Lucy's last time in Narnia.
R.I.P.
And it's really heartbreaking when he tells them, especially Lucy, because she wants to be pretty in this book. Like that's, she's growing up. And she's like kind of interested in boys. Like she gives Caspian a few side eyes.
Girl, because who wouldn't?
I mean, he's fine as fuck. Hello, goodbye. He's fine at Westworld too. I don't care if he's crazy and mean.
Same.
More importantly, he's naked and on a horse. Let's go, sir. But it is really sad. And then also, little Reepicheep in his tiny little boat that they find on the burnt tile, he just paddles off into nothingness. I mean, a lot of people, Fantasyland die, really. I mean, Edmund and Lucy don't die, but they may as well, The only time they come back is in the last battle, which is kind of like the what's it called when Christ comes again? The recoming of Christ?
Sure.
Yeah, whatever. When Christ comes back and like everyone fights in the final battle, that's essentially the last battle. So like they're already dead or close to dead or might as well be dead. And they die at the end. So it's pretty dark, man. I don't know. It's still my favorite, though. It's still my favorite.
It's also like there's so many of the like aspects that we've said, especially like Reepicheep selling off into like Aslan's land or whatever. Things like that are really paralleled with elements of the Lord of the Rings. They sail off into the west.
And that's interesting. In Lord of the Rings, they go west. In Chronicles of Narnia, they go east.
Interesting.
It's so many. You can tell that these books were written by people who were friends, I think. Because they so often, like, consciously mirror each other. You know?
It's crazy.
Like we were talking about that if Prince Caspian and the woods coming to life and all that shit, you know? There isn't really... There's no real boat journey in Lord of the Rings, though. I suppose... No. Yeah, not really. I mean, the only boats I can think of are obviously sailing off. And
from the movie, they added in like the boat stuff.
Oh, that's not even in the books?
I don't remember boat pirate people? Or like it wasn't a focus. Like,
it's definitely not focus. Yeah. But that's like it. Those are the only boats. It's all land journeying.
But it's also really fascinating because they were like produced around the same time and like came out like in the same general time frame, and they both have these like crazy elements that are the foundation for like all modern fantasy, right? Like Lev Grossman borrowing the idea of this like journey by boat, which of course is adapted from older mythology. Yeah. But like things like that seep into like all fucking fantasy. Like just that like visual image and like the sailing off into like the undying land of one sort or another. Like it's really prevalent and it's like a big part of like everything that we read today. So it's like really cool to revisit like what is like fucking like Quentin essentially like the source material. Like this is where it all came from.
Yeah, Queen. And that's why I get very upset when they change it.
Yep.
It needed to be changed. It was perfect.
Plus, we just love to be upset.
I do love to be upset. And that's why I'm living in the exact right time period.
Ain't it the truth?
Everything is outrageous. Do you have any plugs this week, Morgie?
Sure. Ooh. I will plug another movie I saw at South by.
Oh, yeah?
I saw this zombie comedy movie called Little Monsters that is produced by Neon, which is like a Hulu sort of thing. So maybe it'll show up on your Hulu account. Starring Lupita Nyong'o, Josh Gad, and like some Australian people whose names I definitely don't know. But it was fantastic, and you guys would like it if you like zombies and comedies. It's a zombie.
So is it how similar is it to? Forgive me, I don't have a large range with funny zombie movies, but how similar is it to Shaun of the Dead?
So different.
Very different. Okay, what's different about it?
So the zombie outbreak happens in like a sort of isolated part of Australia, and it happens at this like military base that happens to be adjacent to this outdoor farm like adventure camp called like Pleasant Valley or something. And like Lupita Nyong'o is a kindergarten teacher who's going there that day with a group of kids for a field trip.
And kindergarten zombies? That's what I see in our future.
And possibly things happen. But while they're there, the zombie outbreak happens. And it's essentially the story of like her and like other people like protecting their groups of people while they're in this weirdly isolated zombie outbreak. Meanwhile, on the outside, the military is like, we gotta contain this zombie outbreak. Chaos ensues and also hilarious things, and it was very charming.
Sounds really good. You know I love a zombie flick.
Yeah.
I'm all about zombies.
Yeah. It's got like a 97% on Rotten Tomatoes from the critics scores because critics are watching it because it premiered recently. And yeah, it's good. I think you guys will like it.
Okay. Little Monsters. Okay. Maybe coming to Hulu. Also, currently on Hulu, if you have the Stars subscription, which you should be fancying.
Which he does.
Which I do accidentally. I didn't know I was subscribed.
Every subscription starts in such a way.
Queen, I mean, I swear, well, whatever, it doesn't matter. American Gods Season 2 premiered, let's see, this last Sunday. I don't know what the date is. I don't even know what the date. It's Wednesday. It doesn't matter. It premiered recently. So if you go on right now, probably there'll be 3 or 4 episodes maybe by the time you hear this. But, season 1 of American Gods, written, of course, the book upon which it was based is written by Neil Gaiman, who everybody knows we love. The first season I thought was pretty good. It was a little uneven. I was a little unsure. And, they've lost both Kristen Chenoweth, who plays Easter, and what's her name? Media Agent Scully. I never can remember this woman's name. And I saw Sex Education. She's in that too, and I called her Agent Scully because we started
watching that show, and it's good.
Isn't that an amazing show?
Good.
That's an old plug. We also watched Sex Education. That's on Netflix.
Thanks for that tip.
My pleasure. So good. I'm so glad you like it. But anyway, American Gods Season 2 starts off with a beautiful premiere at the House on the Rock, which if you've read the book, you know that that's some deep, dark magic shit. And it's a beautiful episode. And already, the TV show is completely unlike the book. I mean, the basis is the same. But there are so many people alive who are long dead at this point in the books. So anything can happen. So even if you've read the book, you might want to get into the show. It is a new experience. It really is. So, American Gods Season 2 on Starz, but you can get it via Hulu for like $6 extra a month.
Tight. I think you could do that on Amazon also. Amazon has add-on packages.
Yes, perhaps maybe. But no, you can't do it on Netflix, though. No, they don't. You say, I would like channels. They say, you got Netflix. What else you want?
Fair.
Which is fair.
And we're like, we want 14 other streaming services.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you very much.
I'm going to be able to click through and say nothing on. Which I can't do that
now. Oh, no, we're reverting back.
I know, we're becoming our parents.
All right. Well, be sure to check out American Gods Season 2, Little Monsters, if it maybe comes to Hulu or wherever. And be sure to check us out. If you're bored, you can listen to old back episodes of podcasts.
Yeah, Queen. Or even if you're not bored, even if you only have 2 hours left to live, I'd say fill it with us.
Yeah, but I would probably recommend maybe like a Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, Game of Thrones episode. Those are really strong ones.
Yes.
We're
you know what?
passionate.
My favorite episode still is the Westworld episode.
Oh, yes.
Because you have a couple moments that made me belly laugh.
Well, thank you. I had very strong opinions.
And they're not at your expense.
Though,
I'm not laughing at you. I'm actually laughing with you.
Which is such a rarity. Yeah, so find our back catalog
right now,
for
I'm
those
laughing at you.
moments. Yeah, and tell your friends. You can find us on all of the social medias. We're on the Facebook, the Instagrams, the Twitters,
the YouTubes.
We all up on the YouTubes.
In fact, we have every single episode of the podcast.
Well, only we're missing just one.
Oh, we are missing that one. We're missing that one. It's like how you're missing that one chromosome. That's a really politically incorrect joke. I'm sorry. I made it and I regret it and I take it back. It was funny, but I take it back.
Because I'm the bigger person.
I could go further, but I'm not. I'm not. I've already really pushed the envelope.
Okay, great. Okay.
Yes, we've got every single episode except one. We also have a 40-part Let's Play Witcher 3.
I thought you were about to just make something.
You never know with me, to be frank. You never know.
We have a 40-part in-depth look at the Great British Baking Show.
Which we could do.
We could do it. Don't fucking tempt us.
Yes. No, a 40-part Let's Queer Witcher 3, which is a Let's Play of that video game. I don't finish the video game, but you know what? It's 40 hours.
Why would you? Live
it's
your
40
life.
hours
You only
long.
have 2 hours to live.
It's 40 hours. It's a long time.
That's a whole work week.
Yeah, Queen.
Yeah, so spend it on YouTube with us.
Yeah, exactly. And then you can also check out our WordPress blog.
Oh, yeah.
BandBCast.wordpress.com. Great place to listen to the pod if you ever have trouble finding it. Also really good if you're looking for a specific episode. You can scroll through and read our little blurbs. Sometimes we include all the ridiculous tangents. Sometimes we don't. I mean, look, it takes a long time, y'all.
Listen, it's hard.
We talk a lot of shit.
We're busy. We do talk a lot of shit. Wow. But it's the best we can do, y'all. Yeah. So be sure to check us out, and we just love you. Thanks for tuning in.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
But to be fair, I love The Voyage of the Dawn Treader more than I love anything else. Just to be frank.
Your mother's listening.
Fran, no!
Do you have a home? Beauty in the Bed.
You look.
Beauty in the Bed.
Beauty in the Bed.